Welcome to All in the Words, the podcast for writers and story makers in all their forms. Each fortnight we explore a different corner of the writing world, from stage to screen, audio to novels, lyrics to scripts. With original pieces, creative conversations and toolkits for your process. Lee here, and in this episode we hear about community arts company Codswallop CIC, and we look at one of the first monologues I wrote for them for their Tales Told festival in 2018. All to come in this episode of All in the Words. So, first off, a bit of background. Codswallop CIC is a community arts company whose remit is to bring communities together and make the arts accessible to as many people as possible by breaking down the barriers that prevent people from engaging. As part of their programme of work, each year they'd hold their Tales Told festival, celebrating one aspect of the heritage of the town where they are based, Guiseley. Now in 2018, they were unpacking the rich industrial heritage of the town, a heritage that has its roots in the cotton trade and housed numerous mills which have sadly since been lost. There's a few interesting facts about the place. It was home to the first Harry Ramsden's fish and chips, with a rather swanky restaurant that housed chandeliers. They're still there, although the building has been taken over by another chip shop chain. Guiseley is also the birthplace of Sooty, the glove puppet character that still entertains children of all ages today. Another industry that found its home in Guiseley was the manufacture of the world-famous Silver Cross pram, long since gone from Guiseley, but still has its head office in Yorkshire just outside Skipton, and now majority owned by a Chinese holding company. But this leads us nicely to the featured monologue today. As part of the Tales Told festival, a performance piece of monologues was put together that were written from interviews with older people who had worked in the industrial factories and mills in Guiseley. Over a number of episodes we will hear these monologues and the story behind them, but today we get to hear from Noel. Noel worked at the Silver Cross factory in Guiseley as their transport manager. At the time of recording this podcast, Noel is 95 years of age and still wanders down the street where he lives for his daily constitutional. He is a legend for so many in the town. I don't want to say much more than that at this stage, or I'll be repeating what is covered in the monologue, so I guess it's probably best if we just crack on with it. How do? Caught me at a bit of a bad time, I'm afraid. Sales have been on to me. We've had a customer make an inquiry about their order, so I'm going about checking all the bill tickets. It had to be blue, didn't it, eh? What is the colour most people want their pram to be? Blue. So I've got to sort through hundreds of the buggers. Now, I've got the bill ticket from the paint shop, and I've got the bill ticket from the fitting department, so I know it's in upholstery. I'm on my way there now to see if it's waiting to be finished. If it is, I'll put it to the front at queue, and then I can get it packaged up and sent off on Red Star tomorrow. I'm in transport, you see. It's my job to make sure all these prams get delivered, and I've got 20 odd vehicles to make sure that happens. But that then means I've got 20 odd vehicles to look after. By heck, they need some looking after. Sometimes we send them off down to the body shop in Warrington to have them stripped down to the chassis, and then one of our lads brings them back here and we rebuild them, all nicely liveried up. It's a proper fully operational garage we've got here, best at class. In fact, even Minister at Transport brings people along here to show them how our garage should be run. Been here nearly 30 years now. Started as a driver and then worked my way up. Not by design, mind you. Opportunities just presented themselves, people leaving and the like. I became traffic manager, then transport manager, and now I've got distribution and all. I've got 24 drivers now. I have to say, I do miss it sometimes, being out on the road. Used to get well looked after by customers. Still do. Sometimes, if one of our lads is off poorly, we get parcels sent through for him from customers. That said, some of it better than others. I once had to deliver a pram to Gutcombe Park, where Princess Anne lives. She'd just had her first, and I had to deliver a pram. When I got there, I had a right to do a young lad on security gate. He wasn't going to let me take my van up to the house. He said I had to unload it at the gate. I said, I'm not wheeling this pram all the way down that drive. It's a Silver Cross. It's the Rolls-Royce of prams. He said I had to. I said, well, in that case, I'm going to leave it here and you can wheel it down yourself. He said, you can't do that. And I said, watch me. He let me down in the end. But housekeeper weren't best pleased, and she soon sent me off short shrift. When I got back to the factory, I had a word with Tony Gill. He had a delivery to Buckingham Palace. Queen wanted a low-wheeled one. I told him what had happened, expecting it to be the same for him. But he'd only been invited in for a cup of tea and a bun. Anyways, I don't get out much on the road these days. We each have our season, and mine now is to make sure all these prams get to wherever they're meant to be, all over the world now, and that's plenty to keep me going. But like all things, it's changing as it's passed down from one generation to the next. They all have their different way of doing things, some good, some not so good, but they've come a long way since the days of the factory on Silver Cross Street in Leeds. That's how it got its name. Purpose-built factory by William Wilson, which he called the Silver Cross Works. Who knows what the future holds? Though I won't have a future here if I don't get this order sorted. Best crack on. Ta-ra. So, as a piece of writing, this doesn't follow many of the guidelines for writing in the monologue form, but as is the way for every piece of writing, context is key, and this monologue was to serve a very specific purpose for a very specific event, to catch a moment in time of real people's lives. It was written and performed at the Codswallop CIC Tales Told Festival 2018 to celebrate the industrial heritage of the town. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the amazing work that Codswallop do, then head over to their website codswallop.org.uk or follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Codswallop CIC. Thanks for joining me on this episode of All in the Words. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate and share, and join the conversation over on the All in the Words Instagram profile. You can find any links and episode extras on the podcast website, allinthewords.podbean.com. Until next time, keep writing, because it's not just craft, it's all in the words.